Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I hope you're well. Headline alert: while news channel frequently broadcast breaking items like newsflash, this politician got exposed for breaking news. This famous celebrity got unmasked. We hardly ever see headlines like newsflash. A news agency got exposed. This is because journalists are supposed to expose lies and deceit so that the public can know the truth. But it seems like this position has been fundamentally twisted, specifically since the past year. A clip is being widely shared among netizens and has gotten viral where the wicked tactics of BBC are being exposed.
That was the editorial line that was drilled into us, into all of our coverage. It was really an integral part of the editorial stance. To a guest talking about, Israeli airstrikes killing Palestinians in Gaza, that would be the response from our presenters.
Denying access to food is collective punishment, and that we should all be clear in saying that.
Israel will argue, obviously, that it has a right to defend itself.
People were terrified of using the word genocide in coverage. They still are. You will very rarely see it in any BBC coverage. And if an interviewee says the word genocide...
This is a genocide happening in front of our eyes.
That word is, as you know, incredibly emotive, and the Israelis, as you know, will be saying that they are targeting Hamas only.
The presenter will almost always panic.
The Labour Party, of all political parties, which has always had a strong peace contingent within it, is now actually supporting genocide.
Okay, if we can maybe just avoid that language, if that's okay.
As shown in this clip, a BBC journalist with inside knowledge of the organization is disclosing its inner workings and how, following October 7, 2023, they and other presenters and reporters received strict instructions on how to respond to specific inquiries and what to say whenever they're brought up with the Palestinian deaths. She disclosed that BBC correspondents were told to either portray it as an act of Israeli self-defense or highlight the violence of October 7 in response to any inquiries or expressions of compassion for the Palestinians. She added that if any of the show's guests even attempted to criticize Israel or use harsh words against its actions, the host would instantly become alarmed and attempt to control the conversation, which would change the course of the current dialogue. She further disclosed that the BBC hosts were instructed to take a totally different attitude to Israeli guests than to Palestinian guests, with the Israelis being able to tell any falsehood without being confronted, while the Palestinian guests will be treated sternly, and the opening question to all of them will be a common one, which is, do you condemn October the 7th?
It was overwhelmingly guests on the Palestinian side of things who were being looked into. Palestinians being flagged up for using the word Zionist, which isn't something to flag necessarily. Even the occasional NGO was thrown in, for example, Human Rights Watch. These are organizations that we've really relied on in terms of covering Ukraine and various other conflicts. And now and again, they would check an Israeli guest. But there was no balance in what was going on. Israeli spokespeople who we did have on were given a lot of free rein to say whatever they wanted with very little pushback.
Babies were set on fire. Babies were shot in the head.
Whereas any Palestinian guest was asked to condemn Hamas.
But I want to ask you specifically about Hamas's actions today. Do you support them?
Almost as though condemning Hamas was the sort of price to pay before they could be humanized in our coverage. Many of our own presenters, when faced with an interviewee who was Palestinian or who had lost family in Gaza, there was just such a lack of compassion.
I'm sorry for your own personal loss. I mean, can I just be clear, though? You cannot condone the killing of civilians in Israel, can you?
As a result, a number of producers were really reticent about putting a vulnerable Palestinian guest in front of a BBC presenter.
This is the reality for media outlets such as the BBC, CNN, and Sky News. Previously, viewers have accused them of their stance on Palestine and devotion to Israel. Sky News was even accused of removing a live feed and then editing it, since the original showed strong evidence of Israelis causing havoc and mayhem in Amsterdam. What is the most interesting thing out of this is that the unmasking of the BBC was because of an investigation of another media house, the Al Jazeera. It is working tirelessly and continuously to show the ground reality of Gaza and Palestine, while simultaneously exposing the hidden lies and treacheries of the sold-out leading media houses. This is the same reason why the entire nation of Israel is scared of a media house. You will never hear that Israel targeted and accused a BBC, CNN, or Sky News reporter of being an extremist working for an extremist organization. But these allegations targeting are only directed at journalists from Al Jazeera and other media outlets who provide ground truth from Gaza and Palestine. Israel is scared of the truth, which is why it has launched a war on it. Journalists who stand up for the truth face inconceivable hardships, but others, such as the reporters of BBC, have sold themselves to the lies and are boot-licking the wrongdoers, relaxing peacefully on cushioned sofas, living a life of luxury. In these deceptive media channels, there are very few who still stand up for the truth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the lies and treachery. Ameen.